as we grow business and we create more jobs, you're going to need an infrastructure to get products back out of the Imperial Valley. So I do support that measure.
All right, thank you. Mr. Jeandron, the next question will go to you first. You mentioned actually the salt and seed earlier. What's the best way, you believe, to reach consensus to clean up the salt and seed and actually get funding to start this project within 24 months?
What we have to do is take the existing organization, the Salt and Sea Authority. And the problem with the Salt and Sea Authority, it does not have state involvement. And what we have to do is get the state to come on board and take that existing organization, which has got a very good consensus of local electeds who come up with a plan. And we get the state back involved, and we get them on our committees here. And then one of the things that we seem to do is that we try to take this project on the billions. It's a $7, $8, $9 billion project. Clearly, we're not going to get anything through with the budget crisis that we're under. So mine is to take smaller bites at the apple, so to speak. And one of the things I would propose that we do is that we continue along with the new river that feeds into, ultimately into the Salton Sea, those pollutants, is that we go after, and one of the things that we do is we take the projects that are existing, one in Brawley, one out towards Calexico, and we put out there the plant life, the marsh life, the marsh that will actually filter out those pollutants, and that'll be some of the first projects that I work on.
Thank you, Mr. Perez.
We most definitely need to restore the Salton Sea. I'm happy to say that I have the endorsement of our Congressman Bob Filner, and Bob Filner has got some great ideas as to how we can restore the Salton Sea. It's going to take a lot of us to come together to figure out how we're going to pay for this $9 billion project. Right? It's not going to just come from state government. I think the federal government is going to have to play a role in this. I think that local governments, regional governments, and as well as tribal governments are going to have to play a role in this. We need to restore the Salton Sea because of the economics that are implicated, because of the health impacts, as well as the ecosystem. And if at the end of the day, if it has nothing to do with economic development or ecosystem, it should definitely deal with the fact that it's a healthcare issue. We already know that we have the highest rates of asthma of all ages combined in Imperial County, and if we don't restore the Salton Sea, we're all going to be impacted. And one way to restore the Salton Sea as well is through private-public partnerships, in which you have private enterprises investing money and government making sure we provide the service.
Okay, thank you. The next question will go to Mr. Perez. Speaking of water, what are the issues with the new river, and what are some possible solutions that are actually attainable?
The new river has been an issue for many years throughout Imperial County. It's not new to us either. People have been fighting this fight for over 25, 30, 35 years. We have the New River Committee that has formed many years ago, and they put together a great plan. Now, obviously, we have a new river that's coming in from Mexico, in which it's already polluted. One of the things I think we need to do is take an international approach. We definitely need to talk to our neighbors on the other side of the border, and figure out how they can help us clean up the river. But on the other end as well, we need to take an approach as to cleaning up the river, and as well as enclosing that river. Now, keep in mind that there's been folks fighting this fight for many, many, many years, and they have a good plan. The unfortunate thing about this is that our legislators in Sacramento or at the federal government level have not heard us. And so what I plan to do is to ensure that we fight that fight, not only in Sacramento, but as well as in Washington, D.C. And Bob Filner is willing to help me in that cause.
This needs to be a state and federal attack as well. And we do need to work with our Congress people on the federal level. And as I just said, we also need to get the state attention, and what we do is tie that into the Salton Sea, and that is to get the environmental ways to clean up the new river. It's already been tested, and it's an effective way of these marshlands with these plants. It's very innovative and it's very creative. We need to put more of that in place. And again, I will be up there, and one of the things I will be asking to do is get into funding to put that in place. And again, instead of going to ask for $9 billion, we'll go up and ask. It'll be millions to get this in place. But we're going to need a collaboration, and we're going to need your help as well to work together and go to Sacramento. As I sit there on those committees and push this thing through, we're going to need the assistance of everyone in this room because it's been polluted way too long and we have been ignored way too long. And with your help and with me in Sacramento, we'll get that new river cleaned up.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. We're actually moving to the second portion now. That's going to be the audience questions. Let me read this a little bit here. I'm sorry? This is when you actually get to rebut, yes. You said that in a very excited manner. I do not have bifocals, so I have to hold this up so I can read it. The second phase of questioning will be single candidate questions with rebuttal and response. So each candidate will be given 1 minute for their initial answer, a 30-second rebuttal, and a 30-second response to that rebuttal. And candidates are asked to hold up their arm when they want to rebut. I don't think that'll be a problem. And answers to follow-up questions will be limited to 30 seconds. Okay? Are we clear on that? All right, so I believe this first question goes to Mr. Jeandron. Do you think the judges were right in overturning the law that marriage is between one man and one woman?
No, I don't agree with that. I believe that in the traditional definition of marriage, I believe the voters passed a 61% vote on a definition, and I don't support the current definition that was given to us by the courts. I will be voting yes on Proposition 8, and I support traditional definition of marriage.
Perez, 30 seconds. You don't have to speak on it if you wouldn't, if you don't want to.
I think we need to follow the law of the land. And so the California Supreme Court decision, whether I like it or not, it is the law of the land. And so I will be no on Proposition 8.
Yes, you do. You get 30 seconds. 30. Yes.
My concern about that position is it doesn't stop there. My concern is that government is pushing too far into religion. My concern is that it will not stop, and before you know it, they're going to be pushed into, government will be getting into interfering with the concept of marriage. Marriage is a concept that originates out of religion. I strongly support that separation of church and state. This position that he's taking is very dangerous, it's a slippery slope, and I don't think it stops there. That's why I'm going to be voting yes.
Okay, thank you. The next question is for you, Mr. Perez. And it's quite simply, how do you feel about Proposition 4?
Proposition 4, it's a very deep concern for all of us and for all our families because it gets into the issues of morality. No one that I've worked with over the years in healthcare or folks that I've researched and talked to when I've done healthcare research among women have ever said to me that one day in the future they hope to have an abortion. No one wants to have an abortion. But I think that government should not intrude in our families. I think that that is a private matter, and I think that families should deal with that issue, with the religious leader, with their provider, within the family. And so when it comes to Proposition 4, I am pro-family, and I believe that the family should deal with the issue, not government. Government should not intrude.
Mr. Jeandron, 30 seconds.
This one is one that bothers me the most on his stand. He'll tell you that he is pro-family, but that he opposes the notion that if your little girl underage is going to get an abortion as a parent, you will not be notified. So it's inconsistent on many of these things. This is one of the most inconsistent messages that he puts out. Being pro-family, now what I am pro-life. My little granddaughter, Claire, has civil rights attached to her now.
Mr. Perez.
My wife and I were very young when we had our first son. We were still undergrads at the University of California, Riverside. We could have decided to abort our child.